Welcome to the BSR International Magazine Show from BroadSpectrumRadio.com for January 2018. Your host for this program is James Branham. We broadcast this program on a monthly basis for international shortwave radio and online listeners out of our mission to promote the values of solidarity, socialism, science, and spirituality. Our plans for the January show, our first of 2018, had to be thrown out the window this week, as we felt it was necessary to respond to President Trump's remarks about what he called, quote-unquote, shithole countries. But before I go further, I should say that I do my best to abide by the FCC regulations regarding profanity and hence avoid using bad words. But there are some exceptions to these regulations. And so, before I get complaints and whatnot, I'm going to read an excerpt from the FCC website that deals with this question. But you can also find a link to this page on the FCC website via our show page on our website at BroadSpectrumRadio.com. So, now here's the excerpt from the FCC website. Bold typeface. What are the statutes and rules regarding the broadcast of obscene, indecent, and profane programming? The answer. Title 18 of the U.S. Code, Section 1464, prohibits the utterance of any obscene, indecent, or profane language by means of radio communication. Consistent with a subsequent statute and court case, the Commission's rules prohibit the broadcast of indecent material during the period of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. FCC decisions also prohibit the broadcast of profane material between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. Civil enforcement of these regulations rests with the FCC and is an important part of the FCC's overall responsibilities. At the same time, the FCC must be mindful of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and Section 326 of the Communications Act, which prohibit the FCC from censoring program material or interfering with broadcasters' free speech rights. Question: what makes material obscene? The answer, according to the FCC, is this. Obscene speech is not protected by the First Amendment, and broadcasters are prohibited by statute and regulation from airing obscene material at any time. According to the U.S. Supreme Court, to be obscene, material must meet a three-pronged test. 1. An average person applying contemporary community standards must find the material as a whole appeals to the prurient interest, i.e. material having a tendency to excite lustful thoughts. 2. The material must depict or describe in a patently offensive way sexual conduct specifically defined by applicable law. And 3. The material taken as a whole must lack serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. The Supreme Court has indicated that this test is designed to cover hardcore pornography. Question: what makes material indecent? Indecent material contains sexual or excretory material that does not rise to the level of obscenity. For this reason, the courts have held that indecent material is protected by the First Amendment and cannot be banned entirely. It may, however, be restricted to avoid its broadcast during times of the day when there is a reasonable risk that children may be in the audience. The FCC is determined with the approval of the courts that there is a reasonable risk that children will be in the audience from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. local time. Therefore, the FCC prohibits station licenses from broadcasting indecent material during that period. Material is indecent if, in context, it depicts or describes sexual or excretory organs or activities in terms patently offensive as measured by contemporary community standards for the broadcast medium. In each case, the FCC must determine whether the material describes or depicts sexual or excretory organs or activities, and if so, whether the material is patently offensive. Okay. Let me go on here, more from the FCC. In our assessment of whether material is patently offensive, context is critical. The FCC looks at three primary factors when analyzing broadcast material. 1. Whether the description or depiction is explicit or graphic. 2. Whether material dwells on or repeats at length descriptions or depictions of sexual or excretory organs. And 3. Whether the material appears to pander or is used to titillate or shock. No single factor is determinative. The FCC weighs and balances these factors because each case presents its own mix of these and possibly other factors. Question: what makes material profane? Answer: profane language includes those words that are so highly offensive that their mere utterance in the context presented may in legal terms amount to a nuisance. In its Golden Globes awards order, the FCC warned broadcasters that, depending on the context, it would consider the F word and those words or variants thereof that are as highly offensive as the F word to be profane language that cannot be broadcast between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. Question: what is the safe harbor? Answer: the safe harbor refers to the time period between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. local time. During this time period, a station may air indecent and/or profane material. In contrast, there is no safe harbor for the broadcast of obscene material. Obscene material is entitled to no First Amendment protection and may not be broadcast at any time. Question: are there certain words that are always unlawful? Answer: no. Offensive words may be profane and/or indecent depending on the context. In the Golden Globe Awards order, the FCC stated that it would address the legality of broadcast language on a case-by-case basis. Depending on the context presented, use of the F word or other words as highly offensive as the F word may be both indecent and profane if aired between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. Anyway, that's the good stuff. Let's see, anything else here? So, my read of all this is that the word shithole, when quoting the offensive and racist remarks of a sitting U.S. president, when used as part of political discussion, is constitutionally protected free speech and can be said on the radio. Whether, as made clear here in what the FCC itself says, there are some words that may be by their nature patently offensive. But even then, you have to look at, does it meet the three-pronged test for obscenity? To say nothing of, we're dealing with the lesser issues of indecency and profanity. So, I want to make that clear, and I want to have the issue of bad words dealt with ahead of time, because I need to talk for a moment about something that is much more offensive than quote-unquote bad words, which is the offensive racist beliefs and proposed policies of the U.S. government. It's not just what Trump says. It's the fact that he is lobbying, that he is pushing Congress to pass laws based upon his racist beliefs. Hence, it is, of course, time for Trump to be removed from office. I hope and pray by nonviolent political means, but it must be done. Our nation and the world is in danger as long as a man with his beliefs holds this office. In the meantime, though, one of the best ways we as the people of the world can respond to Trump's remarks about so-called shithole countries is to instead show our loyalty and solidarity with the peoples of these countries. We need to be on their side in this struggle and not on the side of the empire. And part of that struggle includes the work of culture and arts. And so for the rest of the first half of this program, I will be playing music from what Trump calls shithole countries, but what I call proud countries who have been abused and insulted by the USA empire for far too long. And by the way, you can find out information. I'm not going to stop and give descriptions of the songs, but I'll have show notes and everything at our website, BroadSpectrumRadio.com, just so we can get in as much music as possible. And then in our second half hour, we will be broadcasting episode number 2 of the BSR Radiogram, a digital program, this time broadcast in the MFSK 16 mode via analog radio. So it's digital broadcast via analog. So my suggestion is for hobbyists out there to have your recorder handy and then be ready to record the audio and then later decode it using programs like FLDGI. So we hope you enjoyed the program, and don't forget to send us your QSL reports. And of course, if you have comments, complaints about bad language, you can send that to us too. Our contact info is on our website, BroadSpectrumRadio.com. And now, time for the music.